Welcome to the STARS program, seniors taking active roles in society. And now, here's your host, ANITA FINLEY.
Well, you may have just remembered you heard Ed William POLLEY about 3 weeks or so ago, and he wrote a great book called Ragwood. And we all liked the book so much. It's a very interesting book. It's hard to even describe what it is. It's not a religious book. It's not a ghost book. It's or a zombie book, but it has wonderful, admirable ideas in it. And I asked Edward to come back, and so thank you for being on our show again.
Hi, Anita. Happy to be back.
Yeah. You know, Ed, being a writer is an interesting thing because if you're a person in a hurry, it's not a good thing to be because you, well, first of all, even if there are a lot of people, and I don't know how long, I think you told me how long it took you to write Ragwood.
Ragwood was actually very short. It took me 2 weeks to write the first draft, and then it took me about 2 months to revise, and that's kind of where that's the part that's more time-consuming for me. But this one came out real fast, just real fast.
But you know, really, Ed, that most authors sit around with their books for years, 2 years, 3 years. They don't do it as fast as you. What do you think's the difference?
Well, the first one I wrote a book before this, which hasn't been published, and I'm not sure if I'll ever publish it, even though I'm incredibly proud of it. That one took years, and it's because I wasn't working on it every day. It took time, and I just didn't know how to write a book at that period. So that one I kind of felt my way out. Why it takes other people so long, I can't say. I don't really know.
Mm-hmm. Because, you know, you said that this is a very short time, but I guess for a writer, you have to really have an idea, but then you have to be a wordsmith. You also have to know how to put the words in the thoughts. And Ragwood, I think, really showed me your talent because it was something when I went to review it, usually I go right through a book. I, kind of hit some pages and go through it and get a good idea. I couldn't put it down. I had to read the whole book, and that says a lot. Even though it's not a large book, it stays with you. That was the thing I found out, that I really like that monk. I wish I saw a picture of him. I don't know what he looks like.
Well, thanks.
What does the monk look like in your mind?
I'll tell you in a moment, but I'd like to go back to what you say about being a wordsmith, and you read it so fast. This book, it being short and also the way that it's written, is designed for you to read it in one go. I really wanted the reader to go through it in one go. And there's little subliminal things I do on the page that does that, and the words themselves are meant for pacing, which pull you through. However, I'm writing a novel right now, or I should say I've written it, I'm revising it now, that is a little different. It's longer, and it's meant to be lived in for a while. You should really get a sense for the atmosphere. This one, I want you to put down every now and again, and it's something a writer should be conscious of, what they want the reader to do. And it's risky. I'm not sure if it's going to work, but I think it will, because by the time things happen in the middle of the book, you're completely with whatever happens, because now you've lived with these people and you know them and you care about them. In Ragwood, it's very efficient. You do care about the characters right away, but it's meant to be read very, very fast.
Yeah.
And what you were saying about the words, that's where I spend most of my time. The ideas come very quickly. The scenes come quickly. I struggle with every word, even words such as "the" or "it" or which one right, which one is right, which one sounds right, which one just fits it better. And it's a little more intuitive than intellectual.
Are you really a poet at heart?
I don't know. I think the sense of poetry that comes in the books comes from my love of medieval literature and those old Icelandic texts, sagas. They're so beautifully written and they're so simple, and it's something I'm always trying to catch. For example, on an Icelandic saga, it'll say, there were 9 men, they were brave men, and they rode the seas with strong arms, so on and so forth. And I go crazy for that. I love that stuff.
That explains what it's supposed to, but very quickly.
Yeah, it's straight to the bones.
Yeah, straight to
the bones.
And I love that. You're right, straight to the bones. Well, I wanted to talk a little bit more about Ragwood, too, because we do want people to buy your book. You call it a novella. I don't usually, a novella is just a short novel.
Yes.
But it's we don't see too many of those. We see a lot of short stories. And we wouldn't call that a novella. It's just short stories.
A novella, it's a little too long to be a short story, and it's a little too short to be a novel. It's right in the middle.
Yeah, well, it's good. I think that's a good word. I think what else is very important is that names of books are strange, and your book is called Ragwood, and people have no idea what Ragwood is. And where did that Ragwood? I think I asked you that before, and we didn't talk about it last time because we didn't want to give away the boat.
Ragwood is a word I just made up years and years ago. It comes from a Fleet Foxes song I love called Ragged Wood, and I use it as the title for a story which I never finished. And I used the first page of that story in Ragwood, and I just carried the name over. And when it came time to publish the book, I thought, it's just crazy enough a word. There are people who will question it. But in the book, it is a thing. There is something, Ragwood is a thing that you will find out about.
Right. That's very good. You just said about, I think that we are curious about names. Sometimes names are so, it explains it immediately. And many show and tell books or motivational books, and that's appropriate for them for you to know. But for a novel, that's the mystery of it.
Well, I share, with Hitchcock, I share the love of 1 or 2 word titles. I love them. If you look at his movies, just about all of them, I Confess, Psycho, The Birds, Shadow of a Doubt, Rebecca, so on and so forth. Most of them are 1 or 2 word titles.
We're finding that more and more, though, with books. A lot of people are doing that with their books. They're strong with a couple of words. If you go down, I look at the New York Times, the books reviews, and you notice the words are very few. A couple of words for the title of the book.
Well, it's certainly true for me. My first one is called Crestfallen because it was a teacher of mine, her favorite word, and I always remembered that, and it's dedicated to her. And my forthcoming novel is called Nikolai, just another 1 word.
Crestfallen. What does crestfallen mean to you?
Well, it means exactly how it sounds, to fall from the top, just to fall. And it fits into the story, which is a sister piece to this one little short story I wrote, 1 page, called The Soldier, that, I guess I should explain. When I was younger, around 18 or 19, I used to write short stories all the time, and once I thought they were good, I would throw them away. Wouldn't show them to anyone, I would just toss them away, to teach myself impermanence and to let go and things like this. The story The Soldier, it slipped through, my mother read it, my sister read it, and they absolutely loved it. It knocked them out. So that one was kept, and I came to it a little later. And what it is it goes through the mind of a soldier who's dying, why he was fighting, everything that he did, and why he was killing, and he didn't consider he was killing humans but enemies. And by the end, he realizes, no, he was killing people. He wasn't fighting for causes, and I make you have sympathy for him before you realize what he is. And then in the novel I wrote, Crestfallen, it's the same kind of thing. You follow this guy, and you learn to love him and see that he's becoming a better person. But then what he was takes him down. And it's this idea that we have to have compassion for everybody, not just people that it's easy for, everybody, otherwise it's worthless. And how justice is just another word for revenge, and it really limits human development, in my opinion.
Were you recognized by your teachers early on that you had a talent for writing?
Well, I was in a creative writing class, and I got a D in the class. I got a bad grade. But all my teachers recognized something. I was always doing kind of oddball things, because I'm an oddball. In my art class, my teacher told me to be an artist. I took a drama class my freshman year. She told me I'd probably be an actor. And my English teacher told me she thought I'd be a writer. She was the one that's right.
And that's so it says something that you just have a lot of creative spirit, no matter what you do. And I mean, I suppose if you got into computers, you figure out how to be creative with computers.
Computers, I'm very bad with them.
Well,
I don't even type up the stories until they're done.
Oh, really?
No.
What do? You write them out in pencil?
Yeah, my process is the first rough draft I write out in spiral notebooks, straight out, and they're incomprehensible to anyone but me because there's lines all over them, extra words. Then from there, I'll revise it into a nicer notebook, with pencil. And that's pretty much the finished draft, and then I'll type it. And then from there, I'll touch it up here or there.
That's very interesting that you say that.
Yeah, well, it makes you go through every single word at least twice. So you go through the entire thing at least twice, and then you can, each time you read it, you can touch it up here or there.
Yeah, I hear that. Okay, so if you said to someone, they say to you, all right, what do you do? And you say, I'm a writer. And what did you write? And you say, well, I write quite a few things, but my recent book is called Ragwood. You say, well, what's it about? What would you tell them?
It's the hardest thing. It's just the hardest thing because there's never been a book like this that I've come across. And the people who read it, they absolutely love it. And they understand it very easily when they read it and they come to me and they want to talk about it. But they don't know how to tell their friends. They just tell them. I remember my sister said to her friends, you got to get my brother's book. What's it about? Well, you got to get it. You just got to get it and read it. I don't know how to explain. And it kind of goes the same for me. I have no idea how to describe it to someone who hasn't read it. I think you did a very good job in your review of saying just enough, but not giving away the whole thing.
I think what your talent in this book, and I haven't read anything else actually, is you're very good at character development. Very good. And that's what takes people, you then have, of course, a storyline.
Yes.
But without the character development, bring us in. But I loved the monk the minute I heard him, and I didn't know who that woman was who was pregnant, but I knew that she met the right person, and then I did not like some of the people in there. So I really was into the book with your characters.
I always think character, there's a few elements to a story, but character is the one that's most important for the audience. If the audience loves the character, they'll follow them through whatever story. If they hate the character, they don't care what the story is most of the time. They're probably not going to pay attention.
But if they hate it enough, they will. I mean, if it's a character.
If he's interesting. No. He has to be charismatic and interesting. If they just don't like the character, or like isn't the right word.
No.
If they're uninterested in the character, they're not going to follow.
Yes, exactly. Because we have some books where the person's horrible. But
they can still be fascinating. But story is all about manipulating empathy. That's what a storyteller does. They make you like this person, dislike this person. And I do kind of play with that in this story. It kind of goes back and forth between people. I mean, you like the monk throughout, but there's other people that, I don't want to give it away here, but when someone was reading it, they came to me before they finished it. They were reading it and they stopped and they came to me, I want to tell you because I hate it when and they were going off, and I told them, finish it. Just finish reading it. Read 10 more pages. And then they came back to me and they were fine.
Yeah. I guess what really kept me fascinated too was even when he was in deep danger, the monk, somehow he just let that pass by. It wasn't something he was really concerned with. He knew he was going to do the right thing, and it was almost like he was a futurist. He just knew it was all going to turn out fine.
Yeah, that's a major idea in the whole book. Early in the book, the idea of fear is introduced, and the theme of fear, and how it really manipulates just about everything we do. And what he says, most of the time he questions people. He doesn't give lessons. He asks, what about this? What do you think about that? Which is important, because we should all question ourselves and we'll find the right answers. But earlier on, he asks another person about their fear, and he talks about himself. He doesn't say fight it, because then you'll be living with it. Let it exist, but just ignore it. It'll be there. It'll be like the heat. If it's really hot out, just keep walking. And, you can't take the heat away, but you don't have to let it affect your actions, how you act throughout your day. And that's his whole deal throughout the whole book with everything. He doesn't care what's going to happen, and he's not a moral person. He has no need for morality. He trusts himself to do the right thing at the right time. The only thing he really cares about is people and living things. He cares about everyone.
And the thing is that people followed that. They saw the way he acted, and it changed some of the most vile people in there. Yeah.
And again, it's not by him telling them something. It's about him being something.
They couldn't believe that with all that happened, he was being so nice.
Well, it's an old saying, be the change you wish to see. We're incapable of changing the world. We can only control ourselves. So if we want the world to be kinder, and that's all you can do.
Well said. It's such a pleasure. You asked me why I had you back. I just like the way that you talk, and I know that your books are going to be great, and I want the privilege to be reading your books. So the book, let me just tell everybody, if you just tuned in, I'm Anita Finley, and you're listening to our interview of Ed William POLLEY. POLLEY. I keep
it's
doing
all right.
this. I don't know why I'm doing that. POLLEY. Okay. And actually, he's only 24. He is a very mature 24-year-old. And this actually is his first published book. He's done other things, and you may soon hear and see some other books he's written. But this is a book. And by the way, if you want this, you can go. It's on Nook and Kindle. You can go to Amazon. You can go to Barnes and Noble. It's actually, you can actually see him. Did you get to see your YouTube?
I did.
Yeah,
well,
it's good.
I saw that it was there. I don't necessarily like listening to myself.
But you should. I think you'd enjoy it. So anyway, It's on YouTube, and it's called. You go to YouTube and you go to Ragwood, and he actually is a Floridian. He lives in Stewart, and he has a great relationship, I know, with your mother, especially.
Oh yeah, we're great friends.
Because you dedicated this book to your mother.
I did. She was very important. I dedicated it to her and Guillermo del Toro, a filmmaker I adore and who's really helped me understand story and everything through listening to his interviews and his commentaries and things like that. But yeah, it's dedicated to my mother. She's just been such a help in doing it. She was the first person to read it.
She believes in you. That's what you're saying.
She does. She has a lot of faith in it and in me. But when you write a book, you think it's great, but you don't know. You don't know how other people are going to respond. Is it too weird? Is it this or that? And she went crazy for it, and it was...
I can understand that. If my son had handed that to me, I would have said, yes, you have to publish this. And the other style that I liked was the readability of it.
Yeah, that's the one thing I have in mind the entire time is the reader. That's who I'm thinking about the entire time I'm choosing the words. A great example is the movie Inception. I don't know if you ever saw it.
I did.
But there's a point
I did see it.
They're talking about the idea of Inception. He says, don't think about an elephant, and you think about an elephant. And I carry that idea over to the words. What word is going to put them in the place the fastest? What words, just even out of context, are going to stand out and take them somewhere or help them understand something very quickly? And that's what I'm going through with every single word. And also there's a musicality to it. When I write it, it's very, it's almost like I'm composing. I freestyle it every time, even when I go over it.
So, Ed, are you in a writer's group?
No.
But and maybe you shouldn't be, but I think you should be a teacher of a writer's group. If there's a writer's group,
I'd love to be.
Why don't you, let's start one, and you should be the one, because just listening to you, I just want to write everything. You have such brilliant ideas. I think you should be doing a writer's group. It's funny. I'm going to be working with Palm Beach State College here in Boca Raton because I'm putting on something called CURE. It's my fourth one, and it's cutting edge understanding, research, and education. It's all about medical innovation, and I have about 14 speakers. And then after, what I've done is I've kind of invented. They want to the college. Let me back up. The college wants to attract the baby boomers and the young seniors. And so I came up with a whole, I would call it programs, and I call it the Boomer Longevity Programs. And we're launching it with this Cure Symposium, which I've done 3 others, but this one we're going to start there. Then we're going to want other programs. And I think having you come and maybe teach classes or something, wouldn't that
I'd
be
love
interesting?
To.
And
yeah.
I know, just listening to you, just in the short time, a lot of things you said to me are very, very smart. And I think that would help people who want to write to think about what you've just said, and maybe they would then incorporate that into their writing. Yeah,
these are the things that I've pondered over for a long time and understood just through observation, things like that. I would love to teach anyone, because writing can be a very sexy thing. There's something about it. It's a very romantic thing to do, and it's great fun. And I think modern day books, I've read a few of them. I haven't read that many books from today, but they've lost that romanticism. And a lot of things have in the modern day, and it's kind of what my next book is about. But it can be very romantic. And like I said, it can just be very sexy if you do it right, if you put yourself in it and understand it. Mm-hmm. But I would love to teach a class. A great thing to do is just show early episodes of The Simpsons. The Simpsons, early years of The Simpsons, is some of the best writing that's ever been on TV. And structurally, it's so easy to follow and understand structure by watching early Simpsons episodes.
See, now, just what you've done now. I've never watched The Simpsons.
The early
interesting?
Years.
You've just now told me something to go back and see if I can see them and understand what you've just said. I've heard people say that it's very intellectual, but you have to really.
It's also
be
fun.
But you have to be on that wavelength to appreciate that.
Well, people often overlook great things because of what they are. For example, The Simpsons is a cartoon, so a lot of people just overlooked it as a cartoon. But it's a great family drama, and it was the first really good one in the 90s when TV was pretty bad. And it was just very smart writing, but also it was funny. It was some of the funniest writing on TV. And it's because of the unique process they had of rewriting, and also the fact that it was animated, so the studios didn't want to really be around when they were making it, so they were kind of given free range. But it was Stanley Kubrick's favorite show. It's one of mine of all time. I watched it as a little kid, and it helped me understand my parents, that they were people, not like kings and queens who knew everything. It's a great show.
Huh, really did that for you.
Yeah.
And so I should go into the early years, you're saying.
Yeah.
The early ones.
Pretty much the first 10 years are solid.
Amazing that they've still around.
Yeah. I haven't really watched it in a while, but I love
Same
those
writers,
early.
though, I guess.
No, a lot of them have moved on, and showrunner is a big deal. The first 4 years were all the same showrunner, Al Jean and Mike Reiss, and then 5 and 6 were a different one, and then 7 and 8 were a different one. And if you watch, you can really tell the difference between all their styles. The characters change slightly. The stories get a little loonier or a little less loony, depending who's doing it. If you want to watch just one season of The Simpsons, though, I recommend the third. That's the
okay. Well,
probably.
I'm going to pursue this.
Yeah.
I have to figure out how to get on. I'll find it. See that you were saying as you were talking about this, I was thinking there are. I just got into. You're going to laugh. Look at the cover of the magazine.
Mm-hmm.
You see She-Hulk.
Yeah, I
now,
do.
This is funny. I have never seen. I didn't up until recently. I never saw Hulk. And, of course, I've heard about it. But, it's not something that I would sit down and watch.
The
but
TV
just
show or the movie?
The movie. And so one night, I was there. My husband and I were sitting there. And that came on. And he looked at me and I said, well, let's just see what everyone thinks. We were so fascinated. We loved that movie.
The one with Edward Norton?
Yes.
Yes. It's great. I love it, too.
It was great. Okay. So now I had the privilege of just recently meeting a woman. And she's a fitness person. And she's a very marvelous lady. And she told me she said, I really feel like I'm like She-Hulk. She-Hulk? What's She-Hulk? Oh, you don't know what She-Hulk is. It's a cartoon character from Marvel Comics. So nothing would do, but I went into it and I read it, something like 50 pages about how she got to be what she is. And it was so fantastic. So I decided I'm going to put it. My husband said, it's a Boomer magazine. What are you doing? I said, people need to know what this is, Bill. And I did an article about her. So that's the kind of stuff that, these comics, even though they're called comics, Marvel Comics is so sophisticated.
Well, even more so. I've recently gotten the comic books, especially Mike Mignola, who is an artist and writer I absolutely adore. He is one of my favorite writers. I've been into him for about a year now. He did Hellboy. Now, Hellboy, wacky name. I loved the movie, again, by Guillermo del Toro. It's one of my favorites.
Now, Hellboy is a movie.
It's a movie, but it's based on a comic book. And the two are very different from each other, actually. The character's different. But the comic book, just his artistry, and people would overlook it because it's a comic book, and they think that format is childish or something. I don't know. But this is such a great character. I think he's one of the greatest literary characters in the history of literature. He's one of the best.
Wow.
And like like Peter Pan or Captain Ahab, he's representative of a single thing, and that's choice, human choice, and how it defines us. And what he does in his comics is he brings such humanity to the characters. And he does these ridiculous stories and these ridiculous characters that are... Hellboy is exactly how he sounds. Let me get into who the character is. His whole purpose, he was created and he was sent to Earth to pretty much destroy the Earth. He was meant to bring about the apocalypse, to wipe out everything so it could start again and refresh and everything like that. But he was caught in the 40s by a group of soldiers, and he was raised as one of the guys. And his job, he's just like a blue-collar Joe. His job is to fight monsters, and through doing so, he perceives himself to be more human. But when the time comes when he's brought to this point where he's supposed to destroy the world, he says no. Even though that's what he was designed to do, he says no. It's my choice. No. And it's so great. And as it goes on, the world has become more and more intricate, and it's such a beautiful world. And if you see his art, it's
good.
above and
I'm
beyond.
I'm going to do that. It's funny. There's a radio interview.
Yeah.
I always tell everybody when they say, "Oh, well, I'm afraid I've never done." I said, "All we're doing is talking, as though you
we're
and I
having
are
a
sitting."
chat.
And that's what's happening here. I mean, I brought you back because I wanted to help you sell Ragwood, but this is what's going to sell it because people are going to know you and they're going to, as the author. So I want to go back to this. This is marvelous. I myself have learned so much. So I've got this whole thing on the Simpsons and Hellboy. I got a lot of homework to do here, right?
Yeah. I mean, buy Ragwood, but I listen to interviews and I look up artists I like because they introduce me to new things. I love looking at musicians that the musicians I love.
Right.
That's how I discovered people like Roy Harper, Nick Jones, The Clientele, just bands that I love through people that I love.
Yeah, I understand that. That's right, because usually people move together in the same genre that you like, or you are introduced to different things. So this is Edward William Polley, and he's wrote the book, of course, Ragwood, Raggwood. I think you'll love the book. I mean, you love him from just listening to him. He's a terrific young man, and I see a lot of great future in him. I do believe that. In fact, when you were talking about some of these things, I think that maybe your next great leap will be into being a producer or a writer for television or movies. I can see this happening because you're so visual.
I would. Like I told you last time I was here, Ragwood, it's a movie. That's how I saw it in my head.
Yeah.
It's designed to be a movie. And you could pretty much, if it were to be a movie, you need to add a character here or there just to make things work because books and movies work differently.
Right.
But you could pretty much film the book shot for shot as it's written.
Except that I don't know what the monk looks like. Not really.
Yeah.
He's a monk. He has his stuff on, but I never really see him.
I described what he looks like, a little bit of his beard and his hat and his clothes.
Is that, we're ready? Are
time
we
to go?
ready? Oh. Well, I tell you, I'm afraid we may have to have you come back again, but thank you. This has been a wonderful interview. You just are terrific. Everyone you can really hear the last interview we did on YouTube. Go to YouTube, Ragwood, or you can just put his name in, Edward William Polley, and we'll be doing another YouTube on this also, so it'll be great. You have to start looking at these YouTubes.
I will, and I should say that I just opened a Facebook for the writer thing. There's an official one where I put up the videos, the interviews, and things like that. And there's an unofficial one. If you want to contact me, you can do it through. It's Edward William Polley. The personal one's Edward Polley. And each week I put up a movie of the week and 2 songs of the week.
On YouTube?
On Facebook.
On Facebook.
That's the only thing I put up. I don't do anything else.
Okay, well, that's great. Well, Ed, thank you. I really appreciate you coming in.
Happy to be here.